Whoa, hang on, I'm here. Oh, okay, no. Sorry about that, I got locked out of the house for a couple months. Bannerlord is finally receiving the love it deserves with a new update coming in a few months, and with us finally getting some more factions and troops to simp over, I feel obliged to look at our current factions in case any come obsolete when war sales come out. Today we're looking at the Empire faction, Calradia's dominant faction based on the Roman Empire with 3 different sides having different opinions. With them sharing the same ideals, I've decided to clump them together in one video so I'm not going around in circles. Let's get started. The Calradian Empire was a force to be reckoned with when it was at its peak. There were leaders in castles, towns and technology, but it came to a halt when their current emperor died, and it decided to split its empire into 3. These splinter factions split off because they couldn't decide how to continue the empire in a matter of succession, as he had no heirs. The northern part of the empire is led by Lucan. He believes that a senate should take over and rule the empire. He is charismatic and believes that diplomacy would lead the empire back to greatness. The western side of the empire, led by Garios, believes that the military should lead the empire, with soldiers being rewarded with lands and titles. He believes that martial prowess is best for an empire. Finally, we have the Queen of Simps, Regia, leader of the Southern Empire. She believes that because she is the wife of the late emperor, she should be the new ruler. The beliefs that nepotism is the way is all the way in her. And before you ask, no, you can't marry her, so put it back in your pants. Every faction also has faction or culture bonuses. The Empire has 2 positives and 1 negative, just like all the others. The first one is 20% less garrison troop wage. This means that troops stored in garrisons in towns or castles will be paid less, so you can stack more room without paying more money. The second one is being in an army brings 25% more influence, and for people who don't know, influence can be used either as a mercenary or a vassal, or if you lead your own empire. As a mercenary, you get paid more influence every time you fight in a battle. So if you get 10 influence, each of that influence will be turned into a wage that you've already agreed upon as a mercenary. But if you're a leader of a kingdom or a vassal, you'll be using that to use it against, like, taking fiefs in a discussion. So if a fief has been taken, you will then be able to use that influence to have more odds in taking it, if you get what I mean. It can also be used in kingdom decisions. So if you want to enact a certain policy, you can use that influence to vote for it. It's like voting power, pretty much. The final one is the negative on village halves increase 20% less, and a lot of people still don't know what halves are. So to put it into simple terms, half is the amount of production in your village. It's tied to how many militia you have, how many peasants you have living there, and their contribution towards making stuff. So if a village made sheep, for instance, more halves would mean more sheep are there, more militia to defend it, and more pretty much prosperity for the village. Now for the most important part, the troops and army. The Imperials have a nice set of troops scattering all across range. I've said before in many videos, they're a jack of all trades, master of none. The Imperial recruit right now, he's just a recruit. Not good, not bad. But when we step onto their infantry, the Imperial infantryman, he's a nice little, how do I say it? He's good at his job, pretty much. He's got a sword, a shield, not much else to ask for. He's got, obviously he's only tier 2, so he doesn't have a lot of stats, but it's nothing to brag about, but he's a good little backbone for your army. The Imperial trained infantryman is a very good tier 3 troop, and I'll tell you why. Not only does he have a sword and shield and good in the melee, he also has access to javelins, and skirmisher troops are very good, because if they can see archers or anything in front of them, their javelins will just tear them apart, so they are very good for your army. The Imperial veteran infantryman it's kind of an upgrade but also sort of a downgrade, as they do have better combat abilities and armour. They trade out their 4 or 5 javelins for just 1 pilum, which is a good weapon but is kind of a step down. The Imperial Legionary is a powerhouse of a troop. He has tons of armour, very good at swinging a sword, and he also has access to some maces as well, and he also has a pilum which, like I said, it's not as good as the Imperial trained infantryman's javelins, but him being a beast in one-handed and all that armour, trust me, he's going to do some damage in your army. I would highly recommend him. Now also the infantry in the Empire have access to shock troops. The Imperial Menaveleton, or however you want to pronounce it, he has a polearm, which if you hover over it says one-handed polearm, and you might think, oh, that's bad. But it's not a stabby polearm, it's a swingy polearm. So he's got pretty much got a massive axe on a stick, but it's not an axe per se. They are very good. They don't have shields, so archers are a problem for them, but still they're a very good shock troop for doing massive damage in groups. The Imperial Elite Menaveleton is pretty much just a step up from that. More armour, a nice little pilum for throwing, where you can do some range damage. Still an elite class, not as good as the Surgeon Linebreakers, but still an elite shock troop. Moving on to the archers now, we have the Imperial Archer. He is not as good as some of the other starting archers, but he does his job. He only has access to 1 arrow slot and a pretty mediocre bow, but he's still only level 2. The Imperial Trained Archer is a step up from the Archer, but still, he kind of suffers from the same thing. Nothing really interesting about him, only has 1 arrow slot, but still they do dish out some damage at good range. The Imperial Veteran Archer is most likely better than the others, due to the fact he's started getting some good armour on himself now. Still only has 1 arrow slot, but they now start getting better arrows and better bows. You don't really want to be using them in melee, so you don't have to worry about the weapon, even though they do have some good ones, but still, the Imperial Archers are quite bad. And finally, at the end, the Imperial Palatine Guard has realised, hey, I'm an archer, maybe I should start carrying more arrows. They start using step bows, and they now have 2 arrow slots, which finally makes them a good archer. So, if you're going in for the long haul, very good idea. I actually wanted some Khazad guards for my army, so I ordered some off Temu, and this is what I got. The Imperial Boucheleri, or however you want to pronounce it, is the Empire's idea of the Khan's Guard. Heavily armoured, good bow, 2 arrow slots and 1 weapon. Still very good because it's a horse archer, but it's not as good as the other factions, but it's a nice little addition to your army. The Imperial Crossbowman has 1 crossbow, 1 bolts and 1 weapon, no shield. Being a tier 4, it's okay. Crossbows have more range and more power but a long time to reload, so only use if using packs of them. But the Imperial Sergeant Crossbowmen, these are quite good, because not only do they have good bolts and a good crossbow, they've now picked up a shield as well, which makes them hybrid units. These troops are very good, considering if they run out of bolts, they can join your infantry fight with a shield. Every faction also has noble units as well, and the noble units for the Empire consist of cavalry. Now the Imperial Vilga Recruiter's got everything a cavalryman needs, except a horse. So he's a nice little infantry unit for the early on, but he's missing the one thing he needs, really. Don't worry, he found his horse now, and he also got some swanky new armour. The Imperial Equite is the first horseman you're going to get on your team, really. But if you look at his stats, he's quite good, considering all you need is a mount, which means not a war mount, just a horse, pretty much, and he's quite good with it. The Imperial Heavy Horseman, though, is better. Way better. The only downside is you need to give him a war mount. He has very good armour, he is nice, they can't count for lances, which is a bit of a bad, but they will shred infantry and archers, and also have a good do at other horsemen. The Imperial Cataphract, though, is what you need. This is shot cavalry, this. A courser lance, which is a 2-handed polearm, the stabby kind, not the swing kind. He's cladded with armour, his horse has good armour, he's finally picked up a noble mount. This guy is a definite for your Imperial army. Trust me, these guys don't disappoint. But if you clad some more metal and steel and just give him steroids, he turns into the Imperial Elite Cataphract. These guys are debated some of the best horsemen in the game, which I don't agree with, but they speak for themselves. They crush infantry and archers. But what should you choose if you're starting an Imperial campaign? Personally, in my opinion, I tend to stray away from the Imperial Elite Manavilons, however you say it, but Legionaries, Archers, I kind of stay away from the Crossbowmen a bit for the Imperials because they're not as good. So Palatine Guards, Legionaries, and quite a lot of Imperial Cataphracts. You want to be using your Cataphracts to distract the enemy and smash into the sides while your Legionaries clean up and your Archers clear up the rest of them. Now I know what you're thinking. Who should I choose for, Mongrelshot? All of these ideas are so good, but which faction should I go with? Well, if you like diplomacy, democratic policies, and like the idea of the old Roman Senate, you should probably go with Lucan, as they think that having a Senate is the way to go, being voted in, diplomacy, all that stuff. If you like martial strength, proving yourself through picking up a sword and fighting and claiming what's yours, you should go with Garrios. He wants to return to sort of barbarism in a way, fight, get stuff from it. If you've never felt the touch of a woman, you should probably go with Regia because she's not going to notice you, bro. Come on. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment if you want to ask any questions about Bannerlord or if you have any ideas for future videos. Thank you, and remember to have a good one.